When my daughter-in-law told me to leave, I smiled instead of crying. I do not know why I did that. Maybe because I was afraid that if I opened my mouth, even for a second, the tears would run down my face. Or maybe because I wanted to make everything easier for her, and for my son, and for the two little grandchildren who had no idea what was happening in the kitchen that quiet Sunday morning. It was my birthday. There were balloons still taped to the wall, one of them slowly sinking toward the floor. The smell of the cake we had baked the night before still hung in the air. And there I was, standing with my hands gently resting on the counter, listening to a woman I loved tell me that I should pack my things. But the truth behind that moment, oh, that truth was years in the making. My name is Rose. Most people call me Grandma Rose now, and I do not mind it. In fact, I love it. There is something comforting in hearing a little voice shout "Grandma" from across the house. It warms parts of my heart I did not even know were empty, until the day my first grandchild was born. I raised one son. He was a quiet boy growing up, soft-spoken, thoughtful, the kind who always helped me carry groceries and always checked the stove twice before leaving the house. When he was small, he would sit beside me while I cooked and tell me stories he invented on the spot. Most of them included dragons, puppies, and strawberry pie. We were close, very close. Life was simple then. Our home was small but full of warmth. I worked at the local library, shelving books and helping children pick stories for the weekend. It was peaceful work. When my husband passed away when Michael was 13, the library and my little boy became the only two things keeping me steady. Some nights I would find him sitting on the couch, holding his father's jacket. He never cried loudly, only quiet tears, like he was afraid of disturbing the house. I would sit beside him, place my arm around him, and whisper, "We will be okay, sweetheart. We still have each other." And we did. When he grew older, he left for college, the first in our family to do so. I remember standing in his empty bedroom afterward, looking at the neatly made bed, and feeling both proud and hollow. He visited when he could, always calling me every Sunday, no matter how tired or busy he was. Then came Emma. She was everything he was not: outgoing, confident, sharp in the way she walked, talked, and looked at you. She was kind to me in the beginning, always smiling, always helpful, always asking if I needed anything. I liked her. I really did. She made my son happy, and that alone was enough for me. They got married a year later, in a small ceremony. I wore a pale blue dress. I remember holding a bouquet of lilac flowers and thinking about how proud my husband would have been if he were still here. I cried during the vows not because I was sad, but because I knew my son had found someone who loved him. My role slowly changed after they got married. I was no longer the center of his world, and that was natural, healthy, even. Life moves forward. Then the grandchildren came, little Lily first, and then 3 years later, baby Noah. Those two brightened my life more than the morning sun. I babysat them often, especially in the early years. I would rock them to sleep, sing them soft lullabies, brush their hair, and make tiny sandwiches cut into animal shapes. I loved being a grandmother more than anything I had ever loved before. But time has a strange way of shifting things. At first, it was small changes, little things I noticed but told myself not to overthink. Emma started giving short answers. Less smiling. Less warmth. She stopped asking me to stay for dinner, stopped asking for help, stopped calling me mom the way she did in the early years. I told myself she was busy, maybe stressed, maybe tired, maybe juggling motherhood, work, and home had worn her down. I kept giving excuses, because holding on to hope was easier than facing the truth. And then, slowly, almost quietly, the distance grew. Not from my grandchildren, they loved me with their whole hearts, but from the adults in the house, from the one woman who had the power to open the door or close it. Still, I tried to be patient, tried to be helpful, tried to stay out of the way. I never imagined things would end the way they did on my birthday, with the kitchen full of leftover cake and the sound of my daughter-in-law telling me it was time to go. But before that moment came, there were signs I ignored, signs I brushed aside, signs I wish I had paid attention to, because sometimes the softest warnings are the ones that hurt the most. When you finally understand them. The first sign came on a rainy afternoon, about 6 months before my birthday. I had stopped by to drop off some new storybooks I bought for the children. Lily opened the door with her bright smile and shouted, "Grandma." She reached out and hugged me around the waist so tightly that I almost lost my balance. I stepped inside, dripping from the rain, holding a small paper bag full of books. Emma walked in from the kitchen, drying her hands on a towel. "Oh," she said, "you're here." Just that. No smile. No warmth. Just three small, cold words. "I brought some books for the kids," I said gently. She nodded without looking at me. "You could have called first." I did not know what to say. I had stopped by their home, unannounced, many times before. In the early days, she loved it. She would say, "Mom, you're always welcome." Now, she was looking past me, out the window at the falling rain. "I didn't mean to bother you," I whispered. She sighed, soft but heavy. "It's fine. I just have a lot going on." I nodded, though my throat felt tight. The children loved the books. They sat beside me on the couch, flipping through the pages with excitement. For a moment, everything felt normal again, but Emma's distance stayed like a shadow. The second sign came at a family dinner. They had invited me over after many weeks of silence. I wore my best cardigan and baked my son's favorite apple pie during dinner. Every time I tried to speak, Emma interrupted or changed the subject. If I complimented the food, she corrected me. If I asked about the kids' school, she answered for them quickly. If I asked Michael about work, she sighed as if bored. At one point, the room grew quiet. I was cutting my food slowly when I heard her whisper to my son, under her breath, "She means well, but she just does too much." I pretended I did not hear it, but I did, and it hurt. Not sharply, but slowly, like a small crack inside the heart that deepens over time. A few weeks later, I offered to babysit so they could go on a date night. Emma hesitated. She glanced at the children and said, "They're fine, we don't need help." But the children had already run to me. "Grandma, stay, please." I smiled softly, wondering why Emma looked uncomfortable. Another day, I arrived early to help prepare for Lily's school event. I had even made a small handmade hair bow with lace and pink ribbon. When I handed it to Emma, she held it between her fingers, as if unsure what to do with it. "It's cute," she said, quietly. But then she placed it on the counter and used a store-bought bow instead. Little things. Small rejections. A pattern. Still, I tried to focus on the love I felt for my grandchildren. I tried to ignore the coldness. I told myself families go through seasons. Some seasons are warm, some are harsh, but they pass eventually. Except this one did not. A deeper shift happened around 2 months before my birthday. One afternoon, I was at their house watching the kids while Emma worked from home. The children were coloring beside me at the table when I heard Emma on a phone call. Her voice was firm, not angry, but sharp in a way that made my stomach tighten. "I told him she cannot keep coming over without notice," she said. "It's too much." I froze. Was she talking about me? I tried to tell myself she meant someone else, maybe a neighbor, a friend, anyone else. But then she said, "No, Mom, I know she loves the kids, but it's overwhelming. I need space." I sat there, pretending to focus on Lily's drawing of a rainbow. My hands trembled just slightly. My chest felt hollow. When she ended the call, she walked into the kitchen and stopped when she saw me. She stiffened for a moment, realizing what I might have overheard. "Oh," she said, her voice softer. "You finished the coloring." I forced a small smile. "I heard a little of your call," I whispered gently. "I hope I haven't been intruding." She looked uncomfortable. "It's not that," she said quickly. I need boundaries. I have my own way of doing things. Sometimes you show up too much. It overwhelms me." She was being honest. I could see that, but honesty, even when gentle, can hurt like a quiet knife. I nodded slowly. "I understand," I said, though I did not fully understand. For the next few weeks, I tried to follow her wishes. I called before visiting. I stayed only when asked. I tried to be invisible when needed. But inside me, a small ache grew, an ache that whispered, "You are becoming a burden." The ache stayed. It stayed when I saw my son less and less. It stayed when I noticed the quick conversations, the closed doors, the whispers. It stayed when I felt like a guest in a home where I once felt like family. And that ache led us all to the day of the birthday. The day where every hidden crack finally showed. My birthday morning started with hope. The children had called me the night before, full of excitement. "Grandma, come early. We have a surprise for you." Their voices were filled with joy, the kind that makes your heart flutter. I woke up early. Put on a soft cream-colored sweater, baked my favorite cinnamon rolls to share, wrapped 2 small gifts for the kids so they would feel included. Then made my way to their home with a smile. When I arrived, The children rushed to the door as always. Grandma, they hugged me tightly, their cheeks warm against mine. I stepped inside and saw a small banner on the wall. Happy birthday, Grandma Rose. My eyes softened. My heart warmed. Maybe today would be good. The kitchen smelled of pancakes and vanilla. The house looked peaceful in the morning light. Emma walked in slowly. She smiled, but something about it felt practiced. Happy birthday, she said. Her voice was polite, but not warm. Still, I nodded gratefully. Thank you, dear. We had breakfast together. It was simple, but lovely. The children laughed. My son handed me a small gift, and for a moment, I felt like the world was still the world I knew. After breakfast, I started helping clean the table, the way I always did, and that was the moment everything changed. Emma turned quickly. You don't have to do that, she said. I smiled. It's okay. I want to help. But she stepped closer. Her voice tightened. No, please, don't. Just sit. I froze. Michael looked uneasy. The children were chasing each other in the living room, unaware of the tension rising like quiet smoke in the air. I set the plates down gently. I'm sorry, I whispered. She exhaled sharply and rubbed her forehead. It felt like she was holding something in, something heavy, something waiting to break. A few minutes later, she asked Michael to come to the kitchen. They whispered, soft, urgent, not loud enough for the children to hear, but loud enough for me. Then I heard her say, you need to tell her. Her voice cracked just slightly. My heart thumped. Tell me what? Michael stepped out of the kitchen with his shoulders tense. He looked at me the way someone looks at a fragile object they are afraid to drop. Mom, he said quietly, can we talk? The room suddenly felt cold. I nodded and followed him. We stood near the dining table. The birthday banner fluttered softly from the ceiling. Fan, he swallowed. Mom, things have been difficult. I waited, my hands folded tightly in front of me. He took a slow breath. We think you should. Emma stepped forward and finished the sentence for him. We think you should stay at your own house more. Maybe. Come only when invited. My heart squeezed, hard. I nodded slowly. If that's what you want. But she shook her head. Her next words hit like quiet thunder. No, that's not all. We think you should leave for now. I blinked. Leave. My voice was barely above a whisper. For a while, she said. Her eyes were not angry. They were tired, worn out. I need space. We all need space. It's too much having you here all the time. Even today, she looked around the kitchen. Even on your birthday. It's overwhelming. I looked at my son. He lowered his eyes. So, that was it. All the cracks, all the whispers. All the distance. Was not because I did something wrong in one single moment. It was because, somewhere along the way, I had become too much. Too present. Too involved. Too helpful. Too everything. I felt tears rising, but I swallowed them down. Crying would only make things harder, so I smiled instead. A soft, trembling smile. I understand, I said, my voice barely held together. If giving you space is what you need, then I can do that. The silence in the room grew heavy like thick fog settling around us. The children were still, laughing in the living room. They had no idea their grandmother's heart had just quietly broken. I walked to the guest room where I kept a few things. I packed slowly, trying not to make noise. Every folded sweater felt heavier than the last. As I zipped my small bag, I paused. My hand shook. My birthday sweater still smelled like cinnamon. The little gift the children had made for me, a drawing of us holding hands, lay on the nightstand. I picked it up, gently traced the little crayon hearts with my fingers. And whispered, I love you. Before I left the house, the children ran to me. Grandma, where are you going? Lily asked. Her eyes were wide, innocent, confused. I'm going home, sweetheart, I said softly. Just for a little while. What? She asked. Her small hand wrapped around mine. I looked at Emma. Then at my son. No one spoke, so I knelt down, kissed her forehead, and whispered, because sometimes grown-ups need space. But I will always love you, always. I hugged Noah too. He wrapped his little arms around my neck and didn't let go. I had to gently pull away. When I stepped outside, the sun was bright. Too bright for such a heavy moment. The door closed behind me with a soft click. A birthday ending, not with candles, but with quiet heartbreak. I walked to my car, placed my bag inside, and sat behind the wheel for a long moment. And then, finally, I let myself cry. Not loudly, not dramatically, just soft. steady tears that had been waiting for months. That was the turning point, the moment everything inside me shifted. The moment I realized love can be deep, but boundaries can be deeper. Asterisk. The days after my birthday were quiet, too quiet. I stayed in my little house, keeping myself busy with small things, watering the plants, organizing old photos, baking bread even when I did not feel hungry, anything to fill the silence. The children called me often in the beginning, but their calls became shorter, less frequent, not by their choice, but by the choices of the adults around them. One evening, my phone buzzed. It was my son. "Mom, can we talk?" he asked softly. We met at a small park the next day. He looked tired, older somehow. "I'm sorry," he said as soon as he sat down. "I never wanted your birthday to go that way." I nodded. "I know," I whispered. He rubbed his hands together nervously. "Emma's been stressed. Work, the kids, life. It all built up. She didn't mean to hurt you." I looked at him. "My sweet boy," I said gently. "I never wanted to cause stress. I just wanted to help." "I know," he said softly. "But sometimes Emma feels like she can't breathe. She feels judged. Even if you don't say anything, she thinks you're thinking things. She feels she's not good enough." My heart softened. I knew that feeling too well. The feeling of trying your best, yet still feeling like you are falling short. I reached for his hand. "Son, I never judged her. Truly, I only wanted to love you all." "I know," he whispered. "And I love you, Mom, but I need you to respect the space we're asking for. Not forever, just for now." I nodded slowly. It hurt deeply, but I understood. Families change, children grow, roles shift, and sometimes the hardest love is the kind that steps back. In the months that followed, I focused on healing. I took long walks, volunteered at the library again, grew fresh herbs in my garden, made new recipes, and slowly, the ache inside me softened. One afternoon, about 4 months later, my phone rang. It was Emma. Her voice was gentle, softer than I had ever heard it. "Rose, I wanted to talk," she said. I sat down slowly. "I'm here," I replied. "I owe you an apology," she said quietly. "I handled things badly. I pushed you away when I should have talked to you. I let my own insecurities make me fear you. I felt like I was failing as a mother. And seeing how easily the kids loved you made me feel like I wasn't enough." I listened silently. My heart ached not for myself, but for her, for all the silent fears she carried. "I never wanted to replace you," I said softly. "I only wanted to help." "I know," she whispered, "and I'm sorry." We talked for a long time. For the first time in years, we understood each other. Not perfectly, but gently. A week later, she invited me over. Not for the whole day. Not suddenly. Just a small visit. The children ran to me as always. Their hugs felt like sunshine. After a long winter, things did not go back to how they once were, but they became steady. Healthier. Kinder. I visited once a week, sometimes twice. Sometimes we stayed quiet together in the kitchen, both learning how to share space without stepping on each other's toes. It was not perfect, but it was real. And sometimes, real is enough. Now, many months later, I look back at that birthday with a gentle heart. It hurt. It hurt deeply, but it also taught me something important. Love is not measured by how much we give, but by how carefully we give it. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do for the people we love is to step back, create breathing room, let them grow in their own way. My relationship with my family is not what it used to be, but it is still filled with love, a quieter love, a patient love, a love that understands boundaries. And my birthday, well, it ended in tears. Yes. But those tears watered a new beginning, a beginning built on honesty, healing, and softer footsteps in each other's lives. If you are listening to this, and you feel like you have been pushed away, please remember this. Sometimes it is not rejection. Sometimes it is someone's fear, someone's stress, someone's quiet struggle. Give them space. Give yourself gentleness. And hold on to hope, because families, even with all their cracks, can still find their way back to each other. And that, my dear, is the truth nobody saw coming. PLZ. Do like and subscribe if you like video.